Hey guys, this is Tong coming at you with another game of Minecraft. I mean, wheat. And what we're gonna do today is take the long way down the mountain. Where's the staircase? There is one here, I swear. It's just hidden in the midst of the wheat. And we finally have gotten, enough seeds. That's a lie. It's not quite enough seeds. It's some seeds. I figured today we would take the cinematic route through, and then, at a certain point, like now, yes, fly up and just look at everything instead of slow rolling everybody this time. No, we're not going to look at everything. That would ruin it. But we'll just run through the field here. Sometimes I don't feel like running down the mountain, but it's always pleasant to run through the field of wheat and, appreciate the seeds of my labors here growing to maturity. But I figured I'd just plant some wheat. I didn't know what I wanted to play today, if anything. But I figured, a little bit of wheat would do me good. And then maybe I'll watch some television program that I've seen before. I'm referring, of course, to The Office, as many other people have rewatched the show. So too do I. I find that experiencing new things can require more of my effort and focus to process it than I want to do. But doing something that I've done before, like planting pleasant rows of wheat, for example. And that's just one example. Oh my goodness, this horse has demolished the field. I'm pretty sure it's the horse's fault. I'm not going to hold it against him, though. Maybe that horse didn't feel like he had a choice. But what's really important is not who's to blame for the wheat field suddenly having a defect in it, even though I know it was that horse. I'm just not going to do anything about it. I'm sure he had his reasons, or she had their reasons. I didn't ask the horse many questions because I didn't want to get mad at the horse. Whenever I find someone making a hole in my wheat field, I just try to walk slowly away. Nobody has to get hurt. It's a wheat field after all. Sometimes accidents happen, but if some villager or golem tries to make excuses to me, well, that might make me a little salty. Better for me to forgive them before I know who the guilty party is. Or horse. You might think you can't find a horse guilty. Oh, well, you'll be interested to learn about an obscure point of law where back in the day, and sometimes in the semi-modern era, depending on where you are, they find animals guilty of crimes. It sounds like I'm joking, but I would never joke about anything at all. There's a semi-internet famous bear that was found guilty of murder. Or at the very least, unlawful killing. And then they put the bear into a prison, but like a human prison for a while. They didn't keep it there forever. But this did happen. This is just the sort of facts that you can learn when you're hanging out with me in a wheat field. I'll be here forever. I will be here for an eternity. Oh, I wish that were true. Hello, Justine. I too am back. Back in the wheat field again. At least whenever I don't know what's left in Minecraft, I can always just plant a little bit more wheat. Or a lot more wheat. But we are really getting there, you know, it's, One day I'm just gonna look up, and the mountain's gonna be right there. It is 11:15 for me right now. I am in Central Standard Time, or CST. The time zones, it used to annoy me whenever I was a kid sometimes, because, you know, the football game would be on at whatever time, where, you know, I didn't have my own television in my room, so if I wanted to watch something, but, you know, my mom or dad wanted to watch something else, I would be like, oh man, if only I lived in Montana, then I'd be able to watch this show. There are these funny bad shows. I think people liked them, and even though they're bad, called like Hercules and Xena Warrior Princess. They were like these cheesy little action dramas about like they were set in Greek mythology, and I loved them so much. Oh, Justine, it's nice of you to be thoughtful, but no, I go to bed at midnight every night. Midnight is midnight for me. That's whenever I say my bedtime. I usually go to bed at like 1 or so altogether, but midnight for me is usually when I try to stop the streaming and all. Cause I'm a cook in a restaurant. Like I don't have to get up and be at work at 8 a.m. You know. I do wake up like sort of early-ish in the morning, but that is because I like to take a long time to adjust to the world before I have to go out and do stuff. Yeah, I'm sure watching sports like a lot of the times would be even more annoying in on the West Coast than it was for me in Central Time, because we were just 1 hour off. But there were, I mean, if a game was at like, you know, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, that would be what, like 3 p.m. A lot of people would still be at work whenever, you know, the sports they were wanting to watch would be on. But, you know, that's the problem with time. But I don't watch any televised sports anymore. Not really. I watch sumo, which is not televised in America, but is televised in Japan. Oh, I'm so excited. Speaking of sumo, the January tournament will be upon us soon. It's not this Sunday, I don't think. I think it's the one after. But that will give me 15 days in a row of stuff to look forward to. Good old wheat. I don't watch football anymore. I haven't watched football for many years, but I used to be really into it whenever I was a kid, and then also as a younger man, I watched a lot of it. But now I just watch sumo. but people have often tried to get me interested in various sports, but usually I just don't find them too interesting. I loved watching football once upon a time, though. Because I like statistics and memorizing things and, like building knowledge bases and stuff. And when you're into sports, of course, there's like a limitless wealth of stuff that you can learn, and you can pretend it's important if you want. Like, I know a lot of people just like baseball because they can memorize a bunch of junk, but I don't like baseball, so I mean, it's fine. I didn't particularly like playing it growing up, and I don't particularly like watching it now. This field's gonna be so good. Alright, what's this song called? It's awesome. Static by Ramzoid. I love it. I need to get this song and put it on, like, my playlist for closing the restaurant. It's so good. But yeah, even though I don't follow football anymore, I am excited for the Super Bowl this year because a rapper that I like a lot, Kendrick Lamar, is headlining, and I'm excited to see how that is going to go. Which makes me feel like whenever I was younger and was really into football, I would get so annoyed when people would be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna watch it for the halftime show," and I'd be like, "What are you even talking about?" But now, like a couple of years ago, like Dr. Dre was there, and then like we're getting Kendrick Lamar this year, so now like I'm all on board with it. But it was just the artists that they had whenever I was growing up, I didn't consider to be, that cool. But I was a kid, I didn't appreciate that whoever was playing was good, I didn't care. I like the games though. I had this book that like it had the story of all the Super Bowls in it, so it would do like a little, just like a couple of pages, and it would talk about the high points of it. And I really liked that book, and it let me talk to like people way older than me about these games. They're like, wait, how do you even know this stuff? I'm like, oh, I read a book about it. And be like, wow, the Miami offensive line in the 70s, you got to give it to them. I, of course, was not alive then. But the sport that I got into most in my life is not a sport at all. It is competitive StarCraft, and I didn't play it, but I watched it for so many hours. Oh man, have I seen a lot of StarCraft in my life. Brood War, the original one. The original expansion, rather. That was the format that I watched most of it in. 'Cause way back in... let me go all back in my day. Back in the early days of YouTube, I I would watch English commentary of professional Korean StarCraft games, and that was my bread and butter. That is what I did whenever I was on the internet. I would log on and see if one of the creators that I was watching, we didn't call them that then, they were shoutcasters. It was great. And I never compared it to like football, but people call them esports. I'm not gonna rehash all of that. I think being a competitive gamer is fine without calling it a sport. Although aspects of it are similar enough, it just whatever. It's not important. What is important is that I got totally obsessed with StarCraft. It was great. And I would just I would sit around and watch it whenever I was supposed to be doing other things. But there is, if you're curious, there is still a scene for Pro StarCraft. I don't watch as much StarCraft anymore. Now I watch Total War Warhammer 3. Which I dream of casting myself one day, but I'll probably never do it. I don't think I would do a good job. I've actually never played a game of multiplayer Total War Warhammer, although I've played like 1,000 hours of the game. I haven't. Not only have I not won a game, I haven't even played one. I don't think in 1, 2, or 3 have I played a single game of it, which is kind of funny. But I think a lot of people don't play multiplayer in the Total War games. My brother, when he plays Total War, he barely even ever plays the battles. He just does stuff on the campaign map mainly, which he plays the historical ones typically, and I play exclusively Warhammer, and then I played Troy also, but I didn't like it as much because it was more historical-ish. I know they eventually made more more fantasy-esque stuff in Total War Troy, but I had already given up on it by then. It was an alright game. I had fun. I pretended to be Achilles and ran around and got mad at people and hit them with a spear. It was pretty sweet. Did I know you could freeze gum? Yeah, you can freeze anything. Yeah, you can freeze absolutely anything. Depending on what you would call as the definition of frozen, but I would call it as changing the molecules and from a state of being excited to a state of being less excited. So anything that can be frozen can be frozen. Because there's a temperature called absolute zero where molecules don't move around, and at that temperature I would say that everything, all matter, would be frozen theoretically, because if stuff isn't moving, then you can't get any more frozen than that. But as with everything, sometimes you have to define words first before you get philosophical about them. Because some people... So you could freeze a deceased pet's ashes? I mean, theoretically. I don't know how functional that would be. If you were trying to preserve them, in a specific way, I wouldn't recommend a freezing process. There's stuff called resin, which is like a sculptor's thing that can be clear, and you could like put a bit of that and then cover it around there with resin, and that would keep like any air from getting in if you wanted it to be preserved, because like air is the typical thing that makes things decay. I mean, yeah, you could do that, but it would make like an ice cube, and I don't know what purpose you would find in that, but yeah. But I would say, yeah, if you wanted to save it rather than freezing it, like making some sort of like resin thing out of it would be a way to do it. Because if you want to save anything, what you want is oxygen to not get in. Because generally, not always, but generally, reactions that cause decay are going to be using oxygen in that process in order to degrade whatever the materials involved are. So if you keep oxygen out, usually you'll stop whatever decay is from going on. But not always. Chemistry and biology are very complex things, but as a general rule, freezing things sometimes works, but depending on the material and what you want to be freezing it for, sometimes not adding water would be better. But there are lots of different ways to do memorials, I know, so I'm not sure exactly what you had in mind, but I'm sorry to hear that about your dog. Freeze the spoon and it feels weird, yeah. If it meets your tongue, oh no, yeah, that would be an example of a mistake. I would call that a mistake. No, this is gonna sound strange, but like I actually really like the way that metal feels when it's out of the freezer. So like I make whipped cream, like in a bowl basically, out of the materials. And for that, you have to like you put your bowl and your whisk in the freezer because you need it to be very cold, because the friction of whipping it around creates heat, so you want your metal to be cold in the first place, so that when you're making the whipped cream, you don't get too much heat from the friction while you're getting it working up, is the idea. And it feels so nice when you pull out the metal whipped cream bowl and it's all nice and cool on your hands, or at least I think so. But I definitely do not ever touch my tongue to it, because the film Dumb and Dumber exists. Which, what a wonderful movie. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. The first one, not the second one. And there are way too many animals in this field. I guess the savannah spawns them. They won't spawn once it's properly wheated, so it's my fault. My deficiencies as a farmer, they're ultimately what bring them here. So you froze go, if you warm it up, it becomes the same consistency as it was before freezing. Fascinating. That's science right there. Whenever I think of experimenting with chewing gum, I think of two things: Violet Beauregarde from from Willy Wonka, and And then on Calvin and Hobbes, a comic strip that was around whenever I was a boy, and I love very much. He got really into chewing gum sometimes. That was one of his hobbies. Pretty funny stuff. He got like a magazine about it. It wasn't a real magazine, you know, the guy made it up for the comic. Hi, Natasha. You say if you miss Baskin Robbins cotton candy until it's sorbet, it's really pretty purple? Interesting. I do know their cotton candy ice cream. I used to get it whenever I was a kid. They would send a letter in the mail, a little postcard for my birthday that would entitle me to a free scoop. And oh, I loved it. But I usually got the bubblegum ice cream with the little bubblegum pearls in it because, well, you know, I was a kid. And to me, that was like the height of luxury. I couldn't believe that there was bubblegum inside of ice cream. It was so good. But I finally took somebody's recommendation. I looked at a couple of FitMC's videos on 2B2T. Very fascinating stuff. He talked about this valley of wheat, and now I know why people were commenting in my other wheat video about FitMC and how I would be interested in his videos. Because yeah, that's fascinating. It's so cool that people came together there to do essentially what I'm doing here and make just like an absolute ton of wheat. And then, of course, eventually, because it's the internet, everybody destroyed the Valley of Wheat, and that made me sad. I knew how the story was gonna go because I have heard of the server that he was doing, but it was interesting. I've never really watched like any Minecraft videos besides like, you know, the music ones. So it was interesting stuff. I've got to now that I'm not going to learn anything else about the game, I might as well see how other people do it. And yesterday, Natasha and somebody new, they mentioned a fellow by the name of Technoblade, I think, so I'll definitely have to put that on the mental list. But, like, because I've been streaming and playing Hades so much, I haven't had time to watch my Total War Warhammer. I've got like 20 hours of Total War to watch, and yes, they mentioned that Technoblade had passed away, yes. But that he was a prolific planter of potatoes. And I want to see his potato majesty. I'm just messing up this whole field. No, it's fine. It'll be fine. I don't know why, but it's just like, it's really funny to me to think of like famous people like trying to get a normal account. I'm sure they have, you know, like ways to get it. But you know, like Barack Obama is trying to get a YouTube account. He's like, I don't understand. I answered the security questions perfectly. And it says I'm not eligible. It says I got my birthday wrong. It says there's 1,400 other people with this name. Gotta choose a new one. And you know, on and on like that. I don't have a good Barack Obama impression. I'm gonna work on it. I'm not. I used to think I had a good one, cause you know, like I wasn't very critical about it, and I didn't hear myself doing it. But then one day, I heard it, and I'm like, oh, you know, this isn't a very good impression, is it? But I'm not gonna like hang it up. I'm not gonna stop doing something just because I'm not good at it. I always wonder if one day I'll go back and fix these rapids. It used to be like these beautiful pools of water right here before I built the canal, but I didn't know what I was doing, so there's some gashing going on here. That used to be, you know, stuff. There wasn't a hole in the middle of it originally. It took a long time to build it. I'm sure I've told that story many a time. We kind of have too many cows, but I think I left my sword, so I'm just gonna make more cows. I mean, it'll be fine. Oh no! They got out! We might have reached the limit of cows. No, I don't believe that's true. There's always room for more. No, there's currently room for more. Right now we have 1.7k. It's about as many as we've ever had here, so we might be getting... No, this isn't close to saturation, because you can get like a lot of animals per square, and there's a bunch of squares in here. I bet we could get like 3,000 cows in here. I mean, we're not going to try. We might try. Because the game will let me do it. You know, this game is not going to stop me from doing anything I want to do. As long as those things are collecting large numbers of things, it's for it. It will even count them for me, which is very exciting. But anyway, if the cows ever rise up and you know, politically organize, I'm pretty sure that they're not going to be a big fan of me. But look, I thought it was necessary. 1,870 cows now. It's a lot of cows. We're getting some cram, but I think that's just incidental, right? It's very, very important that cows can never see a cow escape. You know, they have to believe that staying inside is the only thing. Now, I know you've said, haven't I seen you let them out before? Well, no, not on purpose. You gotta set an example to inspire them. 1,870 cows. It's all good. Time to bale up the hay and get back to work. Or is it? No. Probably about time to wrap up the video. So here we are. Gazing out at the land of wheat. If you go up way above the clouds... You can almost see everything. Which is nice, you know, there's a lot to be proud of here. This is a great shot. Actually, this is one of my favorite angles of the wheat field, I think, because you get to see, like, really what's going on in the distance. You have the trees, which give you a sense of scale to the side. You've got the water. You're like, wait, how much verticality is there? You've got just enough of the pure slope where you get to see. It's a good shot. But that's about all we've got today. And, I mean, tomorrow I might just plant wheat too. I don't know. I know this is boring and, like, you know, not very riveting content, but, you know, I can't help it. It's what I want to do. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Minecraft. And I can promise more of this. It's really getting there. This spur is just super successful as far as I'm concerned. I mean, look how far this wheat is getting. It's really reaching out. Because here's the weird chasm where the trial ruin is. Hop, skip, and a jump away. And then I'll have to learn how to build the temple? Well, you know, everything in its right place. Eventually, it'll all work out. So, good night, everyone. Good night, Natasha. Good night, Justine. Sleep well, and I'll most likely see you tomorrow.